Ho-Oh gonna unleash the Brave Bird, moving Mewtwo from the field of play. We send out Groudon, the opponent not wanting to see the farm down. Send out Zamazenta, while the Ice Fangs might be super effective. Zamazenta gonna be straight in and straight out. Welcome back to the channel. Holy, where the heck do I start with today's battle submission? This is without a doubt the most insane flex I've ever had the pleasure of shoutcasting. Today's battles are played in the Open Master League, quite an inaccessible league for most of us, myself included. However, we've got the pleasure of shoutcasting 3 fully maxed out Shadow Legendaries. Each one of these Pokemon cost a whopping 700,000 Stardust to power up. That's not taking into account you need bloody 360 XL Candy too. If that wasn't enough resources already invested in this team, why not just throw in 5 Elite Charge TMs too? We've got Mewtwo with his double legacy move of Psystrike and Shadow Ball, Groudon running this legacy Fire Punch and Precipice Blades, and rounding out the team, we've got Kyogre running Origin Pulse. I really have no idea how these Pokemon will fare, but I guess there's only one way to find out. There isn't really too much more to say other than a huge thank you to today's featured battler, Dero11. Without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, Dero is going to lead his double legacy Shadow Mewtwo into Urshifu. We are off to a good start. The opponent going to say no thank you. Save switch into Zacian, and here comes Groudon. Mudshot, normally not known for his fast move pressure, but you can see us chunking through the Zacian's HP. Dero going to invest the protection, and it looks like he's intending to go straight Fire Punch. Surely you can't go straight non-stab Fire Punch in this matchup. That would be pretty absurd. However, I guess we're about to find out. Groudon fires off the next Fire Punch. Monstrous damage, and Groudon able to Mudshot farm down afterwards. Out comes Palkia. Dero reaching for that Precipice Blade, and he is full sending, guaranteeing the final Protect Shield or monstrous damage. The opponent obliged, putting up that final Protect Shield. Now going to get a massive Dragon Breath farm down. We're actually going to send out Kyogre. I'm guessing we're about to use this 700,000 Stardust damage sponge. We see the instant no shield deployed. The opponent fire off the spatial rend. Kyogre operates as the 700,000 Stardust third shield, and it's all down to Mewtwo to clean up. Dero recognises Mewtwo is his win con, shields up the Aqua Tail, overfarms ever so slightly. Psystrike removes Palkia from the field of play. Mewtwo dares Urshifu to re-enter the arena. It's like, nah, bro, I don't want that smoke, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, Mewtwo stares down Landorus. The opponent throw a mud shot, say no thank you, say switch into Necrozma, and here comes Kyogre. I'd have loved to see this Kyogre align with that Landorus. Then Waterfalls would have done disgusting damage. Although saying that, look at the fast move pressure into this Necrozma. These Waterfalls only hit for neutral, but the opponent's already found himself below the half health range. The last time I checked, both Psychic and Ghost only take neutral from water, but they look super effective. What is this fast move pressure? This is absolutely ridiculous. Kyogre gonna release the next serve. Looking to maintain alignment. We do exactly that, but we are down a Protect Shield. Not wishing to concede a farm down, we see the pivot into Groudon, and out comes Palkia. Palkia gonna fire off the Aqua Tail. Groudon's Bolt gonna be put to the test. Groudon hangs on, looks to fire off the Precipice Blades, but the opponent makes a very nice catch, catching back onto Landorus, where it is gonna be double resisted. Even double resisted has certainly put them in a range where Psystrike will be removing them from the field of play. This is going to be quite a tricky end game. Dero sends out Mewtwo. Mewtwo going to be greeted with the Sancia Storm. The lands for decent neutral damage, and of course debuffs our attack. We attempt to catch attempt unsuccessful. We land a Waterfall, although I don't think that puts him into Psycho Cut farm down range. Mewtwo rapidly running out of HP. Going to release the Psystrike. We see a full undercharge, wanting to get some more farm. Mewtwo hits far too hard. Unable to double up Palkia, Dragon Breath farms down, and that one does end in heartbreaking defeat. GG's to both trainers. Heading into the next battle, we see Rhyperior in the lead position. We have definitely got 2 better responses at the back, as both the Primals have very advantageous matchups into Rhyperior. We see a shield deployed, respecting a potential Surf, which is a moveset that some people are now opting for. Out comes Zamazenta. No! Holy, I almost missed the boom. The opponent looked to call the bait. We did not bait, and that thing was straight in and straight out. Back out comes Rhyperior. We farm to the Precipice Blades, and the opponent actually call the bait. Some huge cojones on display. Groudon fires off the second Fire Punch and does indeed force our Protect Shield back. Dero sends out Kyogre. That Waterfall that snuck will be sniping down the remaining HP, and out comes Reshiram. Kyogre needs to reach the serve. Get there. Heartbreakingly, we just miss out, and I think that's game over. Reshiram now has far too much of an energy lead. Mewtwo incredibly spammy, but far too far behind on energy. Mewtwo going to invest the Protect Shield. It's going to be a race, but unfortunately, I think the winner is going to be Reshiram. Mewtwo looks to reach the next Psystrike, indeed does get outpaced, and this one is going to end in heartbreaking defeat. Bloody hell, man, Waterfall generates energy super slowly and really cost us in that battle. Heading into the next one. Mewtwo stares down Kyogre, so this time it's the opponent that's going to be finding themselves the victim of that super slow energy generation. The opponent actually banks some energy, catch the Psystrike onto Zygarde. Holy cow. A Shadow Psystrike barely left a dent. We rebank our energy and send out Kyogre. Zygarde's stat product in Master League is ridiculous. It's one of only 4 Pokemon that have got an overall stat product above 10,000. The other 3 being Lugia, Crown Form Zacian, and the recently released Eternatus that cost you like £1 million to get yourself one. Of course, I don't even have one single one. I have no intention of investing any money for that nonsense. Kyogre able to shore up this mid-game matchup. Back out comes the opposing Kyogre, and despite them generating energy super slowly, they now do have quite a lot of energy. Mewtwo re-enters the arena. The opponent continue to farm up. Why they're not throwing a Surf? They still don't throw the Surf. I'm guessing this is going to go shielded, right? Or not. The opponent lose all their energy. We send out Groudon. It's Primarina in the back. The opponent recognises Charm, generates energy far too slowly. Don't want the smoke, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, Mewtwo into Kyurem. Mewtwo with a heavy pace and advantage, but the fast move pressure all with Kyurem. Mewtwo undeterred, going to fire off the Psystrike. Psystrike forced the first Protect Shield. The opponent throws a very nice timing just before the Psystrikes reach. Darrow going to invest a Protect Shield and look to land some damage. Is the opponent willing to 2-shield here in the opening matchup? No, they're not. Psystrike really leaves a dent. We see the pivot into Groudon, baiting out the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Bird of Death, Master League Edition. Precipice Blades here is single resistors, flying a double resist ground, and Fire Take super effective. Holy, but that still did so much damage. The power creep in Master League really is real. So a single resisted Precipice Blades does almost as much as a super effective Hydro Cannon from Swampert. Get your head around that stat. The opponent actually 2-shield here just to maintain alignment. Darrow sends out Mewtwo, looks to force the energy. I'm going to hope that Kyogre, with a shield advantage, can clean up. Kyogre hits the field of play. The opponent sends out Rhyperior. 3 waterfalls do almost all their HP, and the opponent runs for the hills. Heading into the next battle, we see another Landorus lead. Last time, Landorus was able to get the better of us, and Darrow will be looking for some redemption. He throws 6 Psycho Cuts, throws the Psystrike on the charge attack priority. Psystrike gets absolutely no respect, and the opponent near gets 1 shot. You see Darrow invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the Sancia Storm, and then able to Psycho Cut farm down afterwards before the next Sancia Storm's reached. Out comes Zygarde. Now these Psystrikes are at -1. It looks like not even 3 will come anywhere near close to knocking out, but Mewtwo undeterred, going to keep spamming out Psystrike after Psystrike. And the opponent looks to maintain health, investing a protection on the second one. Mewtwo has done its job. Crunch removes us from the field of play, and here comes Kyogre. Kyogre's fast move pressure is actually quite impressive in this matchup, considering how little a Psystrike does. The opponent fire off yet another Crunch. Kyogre undeterred, tanks the damage, going to farm up as much energy we physically can, and Darrow traps the opponent into the CMP tie that the opponent does not win. Surf removes them from the field of play. Out comes Zacian. Zacian going to be unable to Metal Claw farm down before the Surfs reach. Surf goes unshielded. We pivot into Groudon. It looks like we could just Mudshot farm down the remaining HP, which is absolutely ridiculous, but you love to see it. And we're able to take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see another Zygarde in the lead position. It looks like everyone's bottle capped. This absolute piece of shit. Such a slow, boring Pokemon. But apparently quite effective and very popular here in the Master League. Darrow landed the Psystrike, attempted a Crunch catch on the Groudon, catch attempt unsuccessful. This could be an Outrage or an Earthquake, but of course the opponent throws the Crunch before sending out Zamazenta. We've got a whole heap of energy. We bait with the Fire Punch, force the Protect Shield, and we're actually able to reach the Precipice Blades. Train was just another Fire Punch, I promise. Precipice Blades picks up the 1-hit KO. Get that Zamazenta off my screen. The opponent sends out Zacian, and here comes Kyogre. So what I've learned so far in today's Shoutcast is Kyogre doesn't care about this power creep whatsoever. Zacian, ironically, got the biggest stat product in the Master League, closely followed by Zygarde, but these waterfalls really don't seem to care whatsoever as they are tearing through these 2 bulky beast HP. The opponent did make a nice Surf catch back onto Zygarde, but it's simply too little too late. They fire off the Crunch. Kyogre shrugs off the damage. Back out comes Zacian. We've still got that shield to hide behind Kyogre. Going to be investing it here. We're going to waterfall farm down the remaining HP and take that game. Heading into the next battle, oh hello there, we see our first Eternatus sight in a very nice lead for Mewtwo, as they're of course a poison and dragon type that is going to be weak to our psychic type coverage, and we're of course running the best psychic move in the game in that form of the Legacy Psystrike. The opponent continuing to stay in a really poor matchup and do themselves no favours, throwing their charge move on alignments, using Dragon Tail into a 2-turn move like Psycho Cut. You should of course throw an odd number. Mewtwo fires off the next Psystrike. The opponent continues to stay in, and Mewtwo will not be denied. Going to reach the third Psystrike, removing Eternatus from the field of play. Out comes Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh able to incinerate Farm Down. We send out Kyogre. The opponent doesn't pivot out, looking to fire off a Brave Bird before potentially pivoting. One Brave Bird will be survivable. The opponent actually go for the Sacred Fire bait, which is going to enable Kyogre to get the full Farm Down. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, Mewtwo stares down the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death, Master League Edition, more commonly known as Ho-Oh outside of this channel. Mewtwo throws 7 Psycho Cuts and the Psystrike for optimal fast move timing. Psystrike leaves a mark, we then throw 2 Psycho Cuts and look to catch the Sacred Fire onto Kyogre. Not only was Dero 1-1 there able to successfully catch a resisted charge move, we snuck a Waterfall that'll do a very solid chunk of Ho-Oh's remaining HP. The opponent pivots out into Zacian, which of course is by no means a good response, as they're hitting for resisted with their quick move and taking massive neutral fast move pressure. Kyogre invests to Protect Shield, forced to Protect Shield with the Surf, able to reach the next Surf, and Kyogre is putting in so much work here. Dero switch timers up, we go for the snipe attempt with a resisted Psystrike. Psystrike able to knock out Zacian, back out comes Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh looks to dump his energy, and this is like a best case scenario, as this just sets up a very nice Mudshot farm down opportunity for our Groudon. The opponent not wishing to concede a farm down, send out Zamazenta, and we all know how this one's going to win. Zamazenta straight in and straight out. Back out comes Ho-Oh just to get Mudshot farm down, and we're able to emerge victorious. Heading into the next battle, we are running it back, but this one is the shiny variant. Purified shiny, hello? Not entirely sure what happened there. The opponent got a huge amount of lag, or was probably staring in awe of this beautiful, fully maxed out Shadow Mewtwo. So what's actually happening here? As a punishment, if you purify a Shadow Pokemon and you face an actual Shadow Pokemon, you end up freezing. Of course, that is a joke. The game's just completely trash. This is so much lag. Dero able to snipe down Ho-Oh's remaining HP with Kyogre. Is that fair? Not particularly, but I don't like to see a purified shiny Shadow. That is an absolute sacrilege. The opponent completely core broken by Kyogre. Opt to send out Zamazenta. Kyogre invest to Protect Shield, 1 Waterfall and the Surf. Can the opponent come back from this huge amount of lag? I think the answer to that question is probably not, as Kyogre already on the next Surf knocks out Zamazenta. Out comes Lunana. We're going to pivot back out into Mewtwo, fire off the Psystrike. That is resisted, but Mewtwo doesn't really care about typings. It's still doing a very solid chunk of damage. The opponent looking for the Shadow Claw farm down. Mewtwo says no, reaches 1 further resisted Psystrike. We're now the ones getting a huge amount of lag. The opponent's probably forced to close the app, but that doesn't save them from that heartbreaking defeat. Heading into the next battle, we see another purified Pokemon, this time Rhyperior. Thankfully, this opponent isn't frozen in awe and are actually able to attack. We see the pivot into Groudon, as of course we have got 2 better responses in the back. Groudon farms up a boatload of energy, goes for a cheeky Masturbate in session, firing off the Fire Punch, forcing the first Protect Shield of the game. Dero happy to match Protect Shields. He's then going to overfarm, and this time we're full sending the Precipice Blaze, looking to move Rhyperior from the field of play. Precipice Blaze does exactly that. Out comes Kyurem. Unfortunately, we're only going to reach a Fire Punch that is neutral. It won't do too much, but what it will do is put him in a range where 1 singular Psystrike should knock this Kyurem out. Of course, we can't align Kyogre here, as Kyogre has a god-awful matchup, so Mewtwo does re-enter the arena. Mewtwo invests the final Protect Shield. Mewtwo looks to overfarm, fire off the Psystrike, and look to remove this Kyurem from the field of play. The opponent like, nah, invest the final Protect Shield. Mewtwo looks to fire off the next Psystrike. The opponent save Kyurem, make the catch onto Ho-Oh. Psystrike, monstrous damage. Kyogre looks to Waterfall farm down, unfortunately unable to get it before the Brave Bird's reached. Brave Bird rocks us deep into the red. Back out comes Kyurem. Kyurem able to Dragon Tail farm down. We recognise we cannot win the match, and this time it's us running for the hills. Heading into the next battle, Mewtwo stares down Kyogre. The opponent safe switch into Necrozma, and here comes Kyogre. We've seen this one play out previously. Kyogre can shore up this mid-game matchup, just straight waterfall damage, but I'm going to anticipate us throwing a Surf, looking to force at least one Protect Shield back here in the mid-game matchup. Darrow does exactly that, forcing his Protect Shield back. The opponent going to overfarm, but end up throwing at really poor timing, potentially meaning Kyogre can fully waterfall farm down afterwards. The opponent not wishing to concede a farm down, pivot out into Kyogre. Kyogre going to be greeted with the Origin Pulse. The opponent invests the Protect Shield, likely fearful of Thunder. We haven't got it, but in blind battle, sometimes better to be safe than sorry. We see the pivot back into Mewtwo. Mewtwo lands the Psystrike. Psystrike gets Kyogre low. Kyogre going to release the Surf. Surf, of course, removes Mewtwo from the field of play. We find ourselves in a shieldless game. We send out Groudon. Groudon will be looking for the Mud Shot farm down at the cost of a lot of HP with a whole heap of residual energy. The opponent tried to sack Necrozma. Sack attempt unsuccessful. Whatever's in the back doesn't fancy tanking the Precipice Blades, and the opponent concedes the match. Heading into the next battle, we see some Shadow and Shadow Crime as Shadow Mewtwo stares down Rhyperior. Once again, today's featured battler task Groudon on the safe switch. This opponent's actually running that tech of Surfs that has a huge Protect Shield deployed on our part. We farm up a boatload of energy, bait with the Fire Punch. This time, look to knock him out with the Precipice Blades. The opponent go all in on Rhyperior, and unfortunately are able to mud slap farm down afterwards. However, I think they're going to be very sad when we snipe down their remaining HP with Kyogre. The opponent waits to see what's coming in, almost get knocked out by one waterfall. Holy cow, that was risky. Out comes Dialga. We see the pivot into Mewtwo. The opponent pivots out into the unshielded Necrozma. Trainer, no. Shadow Ball, double super effective. The easiest one-hit KO of Mewtwo's GBL career. Back out comes Dialga. Mewtwo still not done. Fires off one further Shadow Ball. Certainly putting in a range where as long as Kyogre reaches any charge move, this one is going to end in victory. Kyogre able to reach the Surf. Surf is resisted, but have no doubt going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Big booms going off left, right, and centre. Heading into the next battle, we see Urshifu in the lead position. The opponent safe switch into Ho-Oh, and here comes Kyogre. And this one looks like RPS, very much in our favour. I anticipated Kyogre respecting the Brave Bird, but today's featured battle, like Jamie Finn, you don't play Master League. All these Ho-Ohs are the same. They're going to bait. Unfortunately, we're unable to fully waterfall farm down afterwards. We do invest in Protect Shield, looking to maintain alignment. Back out comes Urshifu. We fire off the Surf, even resisted, doing a solid chunk of damage, and we have maintained the correct alignment here in the mid-game matchup. Thankfully for us, this is the Water, or Rapid Strike if you prefer, variant of Urshifu, meaning they don't have access to payback, like his single strike cousin, meaning we can tank one move. The opponent fire off the Aqua Jet, then make the pivot into Primarina. Psystrike forces the first Protect Shield, and we see the pivot into Groudon. Groudon certainly needs to respect the incoming up Hydro Cannon, and we see the instant shield deployed. Groudon actually opting for the Fire Punch bait. This is quite risky, but potentially if this goes unshielded, we'll just go straight Fire Punch. Fire Punch forces the Protect Shield. We look to fire off another Fire Punch. The opponent makes the catch. Back onto Urshifu. Fire Punch doesn't knock out, but we've got another one locked and loaded. This will be removing Urshifu from the field of play. I believe only one Psycho Cut off the Psystrike. The opponent recognise they're going to get a Psystrike to the face, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Zamazenta in the lead position. The opponent says no thank you. Say switch into Lunana, and here comes Kyogre to do what Kyogre does best and just waterfall the absolute shit out of the HP. Kyogre invests the Protect Shield, returns fire with the Surf, looking to force our Protect Shield back. Kyogre able to do exactly that. The opponent already at the next charge move. Kyogre more than happy to 2-shield here in the mid-game matchup. Kyogre looks for the waterfall farm down. Potentially unable to get it, so looks to force the opponent all shields down. The opponent go all in on Lunana, just about able to reach the final departing charge move, and we find ourselves in a shieldless game. Darrow could get an energy lead in either Pokemon, but opts to send out Groudon. Groudon able to get the Mud Shot farm down, as Zamazenta cannot return. The opponent going to be forced to reveal their third. Trainer. Oh boy. Oh boy. What's in the back? Zamazenta straight in and straight out. The opponent running a double bat strategy, but Groudon undeterred, going to fire off yet another Precipice Blades. Precipice Blades only hits for neutral. Near picks up the one-hit KO. We Mud Shot farm down and take that game. After shoutcasting these battles, I cannot wait for the Groudon raid weekend next month. I am going to go hard and get myself one of these for the Master League. However, let's not try to get distracted. In the next battle, we see another Urshifu in the lead position. The opponent say switch into Zacian, and we counter swap Groudon. Groudon goes for the Fire Punch. That isn't really a bait at this point. As you've already seen, if you land a Fire Punch, you're able to Mud Shot farm down afterwards. We do exactly that. Back out comes Urshifu. We full send the Precipice Blaze. Groudon, chill out, man. Groudon claiming victims left, right, and centre. The opponent's got Hoto in the back. We show them Kyogre. They don't want the smoke. And we end today's video with another emphatic dub. GG's, and thanks for playing. And much to my disappointment, that is just about going to wrap things up for today's Shoutcast. I think I could have easily Shoutcast 3 or 4 more sets. I was having so much fun, despite us being at the very end of Season 23. I think that is, hand on heart, the most fun I've had Shoutcast in the entire season. A huge thank you to Dero11 for bringing us this incredible battle submission. As I mentioned in the intro, this team isn't the most accessible. However, next month, we do have a Groudon raid weekend. I'm not a huge fan of spending money on the game, but after shoutcasting these battles, I am going to cave. I am going to spend some money as I need to get myself a Groudon for the Open Master League. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel, much like Dero11 did. My battle submission form is linked down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.